Jai Sri Ram. In the last chapter, we ended saying that Sri Rama proceeded in the direction of the Chitrakuta mountains. There they reached the hermitage of sage Valmiki and were received with due honors. Attracted by the soul-captivating Chitrakuta mountain, abounding with trees, creepers, roots and fruits, and the Malyavati, that is the Mandakini river, Sri Rama advised Lakshmana to erect a cottage there itself. It is worth noting here that Sita was to have a desire to spend at least one night at a hermitage enjoying the fruits and roots all by herself. And when she was abandoned, she reached the same hermitage of Valmiki. Anyway, we will come to that much later. Meanwhile, Dasharatha, grieving piteously, thinking of Sri Rama, recalled an incident while he was a young prince. He could hit any unseen target with the help of the sound emanating from it. That fateful day, he recalled, he had shot an arrow towards what he mistook to be the sound of an elephant drinking water in the Sarayu. The arrow pierced the heart of a young ascetic who was filling water in the pitcher for his thirsty, blind, aged mother and father at the hermitage. The father had cursed the prince to meet a similar fate of having to meet a miserable death. Unable to bear the separation of his son, those aged parents consigned themselves to the fire that had consumed their son. Likewise, unable to bear the separation of Rama, King Dasharatha left his mortal body and attained the Lord's lotus feet, leaving the three queens behind to grieve. Upon the advice of Markandeya, sage Vasishtha sent messengers to bring Bharata and Shatrugna back from Bharata's maternal uncle's house without telling them about the demise of their father until they reached Ayodhya. The noble Bharata, on hearing all that had happened in his absence, reprimanded his mother severely. The cremation of the deceased king, whose mortal body had been kept in oil in a vessel, was done by Bharata and Shatrugna on the banks of the river Sarayu. Bharata came to know from Sumantra that Sri Rama was camping at Chitrakuta. After the 30th day rituals, he went after Sri Rama accompanied by Shatrugna, the three widows, Vasishtha and others. Bharata had a proper road built for the whole entourage to go to the river Ganga. Bharata reached the hermitage of Bharadwaja, who took care of the necessities of not only Bharata family but also the entire entourage. And with guidance from sage Bharadwaja, he was soon reaching the cottage where Sri Rama, Sita and Lakshmana were living. The loud noise and clouds of dust kicked up by the horses alerted Sri Rama, at whose behest Lakshmana climbed up a tall tree. Lakshmana, who saw an army of people advancing towards their cottage and fearing an attack on them, alerted Sri Rama to douse the fire in the hearth so that smoke will not be seen outside, and to keep Sita in a safe place. However, Lakshmana soon realized that it was Bharata and his retinue and started talking of taking on them all single-handedly and punished them for his having been instrumental in the brothers' exile. Sri Rama, who knew that Bharata was innocent, had to give a sound advice to Lakshmana to stop his inimical attitude. Bharata, clad in bark and deer skin and with matted locks on his head, and Shatrughna were hugged by Sri Rama after he fell at Sri Rama's feet. Not aware of Dasharatha's death and the purpose of Bharata's visit, Sri Rama initially thought that there were problems in the kingdom and put several queries to Bharata on the state of affairs, economy, welfare, health of father, and even dwelt upon the norms of a good governance and choice of good counselors. This itself needs to be covered in a separate chapter because it brings to light a lot of principles of governance and an ideal governance as enunciated by none other than Sri Rama himself, an avatar of the Almighty. Bharata pleaded his innocence and entreated Sri Rama to return to Ayodhya. That was now without a ruler, as Father Dasharatha had departed to the heavens unable to bear separation from Sri Rama. Hearing this unbearable news of his father's death, Sri Rama broke down and then along with Lakshmana performed the obsequies to the departed soul at the Mandakini riverside. Sri Rama, Sita and Lakshmana touched the feet of mothers, widowed Kausalya, repentant Kaikeyi and Sumitra, who hugged them full of grief. Bharata put forth various arguments to persuade Sri Rama to return to Ayodhya. In turn, Sri Rama made him realize that whatever he was proposing was against the truth that the king had wanted to ardently uphold. Sage Vasishtha and others all tried to persuade Sri Rama by saying the Shastras and the dynastic convention, nay, every criterion suggested that Sri Rama, the eldest of Dasharatha's sons, was the only rightful heir to the throne. Jabali, counselor priest of the king, tried in vain by suggesting an approach for Sri Rama that was contrary to the established principles and opposed to the Vedic path. This irritated Sri Rama, who gave back a fitting reply and even remarked that his late father had made an unworthy person as counselor priest. In this context, Sri Rama also remarked that it was a well-known fact that atheists following the doctrine of Buddha deserve to be punished for being heretics, like punishment to thieves for robbing holy men of their established faith, upheld by all the wise sages, and starting from Lord Brahma himself. And such followers are to be considered on par with a Bauddha. Buddhanayevyam vidhaya charantam sunastikam dharma pathatapetam yada hi chorahasta tatha hi buddhas tadagatam nasti kabatra vidhi. Sage Vasishtha was quick to point out to Sri Rama that Jabali had intentionally uttered whatever he said only to make Sri Rama, the all-knowing, espouse the highest principles and which will add to his glory. Sri Rama humbly submitted that his father's word had to be honored, and that was the only dharma to be observed. Sri Rama informed Bharata that their late father was in any case bound by his erstwhile promise at the time of marrying his mother Kaikeyi that their issue will be the one to rule the kingdom. Further, Mother Kaikeyi had rendered great help during his encounter with the demons, and appreciating that, he had offered that she could ask for 2 boons. In other words, Sri Rama highlighted the importance of honoring father's vow, Pitruvakya Paripalana. At last, Bharata carried the pair of Sri Rama's wooden sandals on his head, insisting that the day after the 14 years of exile period expired, he would enter the sacrificial fire if they did not reach Ayodhya by then. Bharata worshipped the sandals and ruled on Sri Rama's behalf, remaining in the Nandigram away from Ayodhya without ever occupying the throne that Kaikeyi had coveted for him. Jai Sri Ram, Jai Sri Ram, Jai Sri Ram.